in studio. Shannon, you listen to a lot of sports talk radio over the course of time. Do you ever hear a radio show with like wrestling intros?
Oh, this show's amazing. I mean,
Shannon, all you need is one more visit, babe. We're going to get you one.
hey, I'm bringing this show down.
I bet you played basketball at Lipscomb. And for those just tuning in, he birthed Rivals.com. Is that a good way to put it? And then sold it. And then birthed 24/7 Sports, sold that. Now on3.com, which we'll talk extensively about in just a little bit. Great new site. You need to check it out, on3.com. When you were at Lipscomb, what kind of player were you at Lipscomb? Because I see you running these pickup games, man. You get pretty physical out there.
Or allowed to be.
Were you point guard?
Coach Meyer, he's just going to be any kind of player up there. He ain't going for that. I've been in them camps.
Well, here, people ask that question. I can answer it like this. And at the time I was at Lipscomb and in high school, I thought I was the greatest player of all time. I look back now and I go, wow, I sucked.
Do you have a Don Myers story that sticks out to you?
I have a great one,
legend.
But this is almost a true story, the best I can remember. So we played a team called Virginia Intermont. It was their first year of basketball, and they were a really small school, but they had this point guard. He was beautiful, 6'2", looked like a free safety, NFL player. Everything about him was great. We were up in that game, I think, like 100-18 or so at halftime.
Yeah.
This kid only had one arm.
Huh?
He only had one arm. And the entire game, we had this great defensive player named Marcus Bodie.
Oh,
who
yeah.
was just
Marcus
a
Bodie.
freak of freaks. Should have never been at Lipscomb.
He played for the Nashville Stars.
Yep.
Just a phenomenal athlete. The entire game, we're up 80. Coach Meyer is running up and down the sideline, screaming as loud as he could, "Make him go left! Make him go left!"
Oh, no.
The entire game. That is a true story. We ended up winning. I think we won 150-40 or something. Did not stop.
Hey, man.
Make him go left.
The one-armed guy.
To the one-armed guy.
And the funny thing is about, like, it's a kid now, though, that's the same way. Hansel Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying his name right. But the exact same thing. And I'm trying to figure out, like, love the young kid's talent. The motor, super athletic, vision on the court. Man, a different type of vibrant, positive energy when he's out there. But at some point, when you make it to that level, you coming out the huddle. Shannon, you guarding him, and this man done scored on you 4 straight times. I got to look at Shannon and say, hey, man, like, he got one arm, Shannon. Make him go left. Like, what are you doing?
Make him go left.
Yes. How can you, like, how do you evaluate somebody like that?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
That kid's a freak, though.
Yes, he is.
He
is. And I
this kid
hope
was
he cash
too.
in.
This kid was too, but he met Marcus.
Yeah,
and Marcus.
That's a different
He's
animal.
not backing down.
No, that's a different animal.
Marcus Bodie.
Marcus
That's a
Bodie.
different animal.
He understood the assignment.
So we kind of walked through like how you started Rivals and the idea behind it, and you're talking about, I guess the vision is what the content is, and then you discover that there's a need not being serviced in terms of recruiting, and that newspaper guy didn't necessarily want to cover that. That's why you mentioned Bill King. That's why he had a window, because Bob Bell didn't want to really talk about it and investigate that. So he would get an hour of the sports scene show, and that's kind of how Bill got into the thing.
Because it was a lot of work.
It's a
I
lot
mean,
of
on
work.
top of
Yeah.
covering a college team, but trying to keep up with the recruiting is a lot of work.
That the content part, but also like I'm curious about the technical side of things. So like, at what point do you guys have a signing day where your boards are crashing and all of these things? Like, how did you deal with those situations?
Most stressful days of my life. And I mean, the whole month of January, which was leading up to February, first Wednesday in February, we did everything we could to keep our sites up. It would get so much traffic. The technical back in the day, because it wasn't like now. I mean, now it's pretty easy to build infrastructure, for a large audience. We had a large audience and we had concurrent sessions, which means a lot of people on the site at a given minute, a given second. It was brutal. I mean, because you go down on that day, you're toast.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
And this is back when there was one day.
There was one
And
day
everything
you
was
can't mess
popping
up.
at the same time. Yeah.
Can't mess it up. So yeah, we stayed up a lot of nights worrying about that one day and that week going into that one day.
So you sell Rivals. What did you do after that deal is done? All the papers are signed. Did you do anything that night? Did you pop a bottle of champagne or?
I remember being at Satco when the wire came through. There were like 5 of us, and
What a place to be.
We were at Satco and sitting on. We were not even on the patio, and there was about 5 of us there, and the deal had closed. And we still, we were kids. Ignorant. I'm a farm boy, and I remember the table got kind of quiet because the first guy was like checking at his bank statement, and he didn't say much. And then another guy, and then it was just kind of obvious that the wires were going through. I remember about 5 of us. I don't think we said another word. And like everyone just kind of scurried off. that was it.
Need some alone time.
Yeah, we need some alone time. I'm like,
That's
what?
funny.
Is this real?
No, like shots for everybody.
No.
Tacos for everybody.
We were just like, it was kind of a bittersweet moment and kind of like, is this real?
See, that's the part of me that is intriguing. Like, because what do you do as a young kid? And then, it's life-changing money. All of a sudden, you're not necessarily thinking about the next thing, or maybe you are. I don't know. But what do you do for like the next couple of months?
What did I do? I don't think I spent any for a while.
Why? Were you scared too?
Yeah,
because then that would make it real.
No, those numbers didn't mean anything to me. Like, to go from, what I had at the time to, to that kind of money, I didn't know what that meant. So, I didn't want anything.
Yeah.
So I think I started spending pretty aggressively, maybe a couple years after that. And then I had a really expensive divorce. And so that was a doozy. Hey, it's just money though.
So hang on real quick. So you guys are sitting at a table at Satco. You all checking your bank statement seemingly every second. You get the numbers. What was the conversation like with your parents?
What are you going to do next? And I remember a couple years. And I do remember that because my mom was like, "Well, are you going to stay at Yahoo?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to stay for a while." And she's like, "Well, what's your salary?" And I'm like, I didn't ask. Think about it. But are you going to be okay? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I'm not the boss anymore. So we'll see how this goes. But Jimmy Potaro bought the company. Jimmy loved that dude, love him now. He's now the head of ESPN and so excited to see his career. He deserves it. He's earned every penny of it. He's as successful a media executive you can be. And he is a great, great, great human being. And so I worked for Jimmy for 2 years and really glad I did. I talked to him. I think he came to meet with Herb Street or something a couple years ago. And we talked for a few minutes on the phone or whatever, but I haven't talked to him in years.
So you mentioned your parents and all of that farming family.
Yeah.
I would assume usually that's generational. Everybody kind of expects whoever's grown up to come take care of the farm and move on with that. Did they think that you would get into the family business? And then, you're like the furthest thing from farming now at that time, especially with the internet and all of that.
I worked on a farm growing up and I expressed my disdain pretty much on a daily basis.
That was it.
And yes, and I took up basketball so I didn't have to bale hay. It got me out of it. No, and I played baseball. That's what it was. I played baseball so I didn't have to bale hay. Love basketball. But no, they knew I wasn't going to be a farmer. And I could do those things but it was hard work.
Yeah.
Really hard work. So I didn't really have any desire to go back to that world. And my parents know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Babs is trying to get me to go to the farm for a day.
I'm trying to get him to milk a cow, do all kind of the farm things. Can't you just see Slade doing all of that?
No, not at all. Zero.
All right. The current project on3.com. We'll talk about that with Shannon Terry. More with Shannon Terry next. 3HL 1045 The Zone. What's going on with On3? And we need to talk about the NIL deal because that is an interesting space on. Was that you?
That was my watch. How does that happen? Why does it just
difficulties.
randomly talk to you?
Do you
I'm telling
understand
you.
how much crap I get if my phone
Oh my
beeps or
gosh,
something
I,
from
like-
her?
Rip him a new one.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
See? I
So-
keep my mouth shut now.
So the idea, so
Sorry about
24/7
that.
sports
Right.
in the rear view. The idea behind On3. What's different with this brand?
This one's gonna be amazing. And it took to me On3, and I'll sum it up like this. So Rivals was very much a fan site network that covered recruiting. And we saw the internet shifting to agnostic media, meaning that I saw this on the internet and they were getting their content through search and social. And so 24/7 Sports was built to satisfy the world of search and social. Well, what happened was that got completely exploited by content farms and the proliferation of the exchange ad network. And what we started seeing a couple years ago was the back to the endemic media brands. And so the media brands that were doing well now on search and social were the media brands that had really strong influencers and people that were experts in their domain. And it was a shift out of the kind of the algorithm world. The algorithm world still works if you've got the talent behind it. And so, I've been doing this for 27 years and sat down and wrote a business plan for On3. It's kind of got 3 stools to it with a coup de grace at the end. And, if we're successful, it's going to be a monster. And, I'm really passionate about this one. I have a great team. We've made a lot of great hires. Ivan Mazel sent me a text yesterday. It's like, I can't believe it, how much we're running out of our shoes. And so it's got a chance to be special. And I'm going to do everything I can to make it that.
That was a big hire. Ivan Mazel, one of the legends in the business. And that's a guy that, went through the writing, with magazine, first college football writer, I think, for ESPN, right? And now going through the digital space too. That takes a different kind of mindset.
Name one person in college sports Ivan can't get on the phone when Ivan wants him on the phone.
Mhm.
That's influence, and Ivan has it. And Ivan can relate and tell stories. And for us, it was a really good hire. And you're going to see a lot more of him on our brand now that we're only like 10 months old.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big year for us.
Do you guys have this is personal? You guys got a cutoff for kids that you would rank because you're looking at people on social media sites and man, we got the highest rated third grader that just ran a 10.9 in the 100. Like, how you know all this? Like, by the time you get 14, you might not even like sports no more. So, like, how do you like? What's the cutoff where you can really start banking on the rankings and really relying on it to mean something?
Yeah, I don't think we rank anything beyond younger than a sophomore.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so we
So
don't.
This is the real rankings right here,
Yeah,
people. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
We don't database. We don't database an athlete until there's a few 8th graders.
Yeah.
Typically 8th and 9th grade, we start putting them in our database, and that's where the recognition piece starts.
And that's for every sport: baseball, basketball, football.
Right now, it's basketball and
football.
football. We our big crazy plan is basically to build the LinkedIn wiki for every athlete in the world. And so
wow.
that's what we're trying to do. And there's an end around to get there. But that's what we want to do.
A lot going on, obviously, with NIL and obviously a section dedicated to that and a Twitter feed on 3 NIL, which the one that we were talking about earlier is the one on Nico, which a lot of Tennessee fans want to talk about. 5-star Tennessee QB commit Nico. How do you say his last name?
Just Nico.
Okay.
Like Prince.
NIL valuation has surpassed $1 million. So explain to those that haven't stumbled upon this how it all works.
So first of all, Nico, I want to say this because I get a chance every once in a while to watch tape of kids. I am not involved in the scouting and ranking process. I think that kid is the best recruit prospect in this class by far.
Wow.
Okay, just to be clear, he is phenomenally athletic. Look at his volleyball tape. His accuracy is going to improve, but it's already good. He has all the tools to be at level, I mean, superstar NFL player. So Tennessee's getting a great one with him. So the valuation is really interesting. And we have a SaaS company that was started in London. And this young man named Nana Bansul and Tiki graduated Princeton, was Eton, and he's a math stats guy, brilliant young man. And we got together about 6 months ago and started talking about the constructs of building a valuation system around name, image, likeness. And so he got together with his engineers, and we built this. And here's the way I would kind of explain it. The first thing that we did is when we started this valuation is we looked at the world of influencers and what your social values were. And so we did a lot of research, and we knew what influencers were making for their social deals. And we built our formula initially around that algorithm, and then we extrapolated back into the world of high school sports and college sports. And so that was the first piece. Then what we started doing is we started laying on performance metrics, big games, winning the Heisman, college rankings and ratings and those type things. And then it just kind of went from there. But to summarize it, we have 3 areas that we build our data sets around. The first is P for performance. How good is the athlete on the field? The second is influence, which is heavily weighted by their social influence, their engagement, and so forth. And the third is exposure. And exposure, think about it from this perspective. A high school athlete, not named Arch Manning, doesn't have the exposure that a college kid. All the way from a college kid, where do you go to school? And with all due respect, a player that plays at Alabama, his exposure is far greater than that one that plays at Wake Forest. Also in the exposure algorithm is the position that you play. Quarterbacks are infinitely more valued in the world of name, image, likeness than a free safety. Yeah. And so we have an incredibly complex algorithm that values these kids. I stand behind it. It's incredibly accurate. A lot of smart people put a lot of time into it. And then it has become the de facto valuation for NIL, and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to be received by more people.
It's amazing. You're measuring the immeasurable, basically.
Yeah, but let me put it this way, and everyone thinks of it as complicated, but here's the beauty of it. If you know how much money is going into the space, you can extrapolate back on how, you're basically, it's a tier system. This group of athletes, would get this percentage share. And so the numbers all check. And, it's not perfect, and it never will be perfect. It's not a measurement of the deals. It's a measurement of what the athlete should be worth. They can make more than that if they overachieve, and they can make under that if they undersell. And so it's being used as a guide right now in the world of collectives with the disbursement of these funds. And it's a good guide. And again, it will only get better.
So do college coaches have opinions about a valuation ranking system as we're looking at on our laptop right now?
I'm sure.
Or have you not gotten to that?
No, we talked to them. Yeah. And the biggest issue they have to deal with is when the athlete comes in and says, look, I'm only getting this from the collective, and
my
value is this. And my point is, and our next iteration is going to show this, that valuation doesn't mean that the collective is on the hook for all that money. You got to get out and hustle and grind and do your own deals as well to bridge some of that. But our new formula, or our new dashboard that's coming out, will break it all down for the athlete and give them more guidance on how to achieve their goals.
Shannon Terry with us on 3.com is the website. I'm looking at the NIL valuation list right now. Arch Manning at 3.4 million, then Nico at 1 million. That's number 1 and number 2 in college and in football. It's really interesting to think about this whole thing. And again, you're first in and you're doing it great. And I can't wait to see what the path holds. But I am curious, from your seat, have you seen, like, can you tell like which schools are doing the collective thing the best?
Sure. So there are two schools of thought in the world of college football right now as it relates to NIL. There's this kind of old school mentality where it's like, you have to be on my roster and you have to earn it. And that's the mentality. And I'm not saying that the coaches steer funds. I'm just simply saying that's the mindset. The mindset is, you're on the field on Saturdays, you do your job, you work hard, you earn it, and that's the focus of the collective. And then there's a new school approach where it's about the funds being more in the recruiting process. And
that's where Nick Saban got upset.
And I'm not saying names.
Mark Stoops just said it last week.
Yeah.
You get what you earn once you're here.
Yeah, and so I think the balance of that is gonna win out, and the challenge that the schools are gonna have in this is just maintaining their locker room and the entire look. I love NIL. I love everything about it. I could sit here and talk for hours on why it is great in so many ways. But it's going to be a challenge for it's going to be a greater challenge for head coaches, especially with the transfer portal rules, to manage locker rooms now.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Yep. If I'm a player and something going sour, and I'm out of here, man. Let me go see who. Matter of fact, let me hit one of my friends up that plays at Louisiana Lafayette. You know what I'm saying? With their NIL deal, that's tough, man.
And that's what's interesting. Like, in the professional world, like, guys know what each other makes because it's public information. But there's this mindset of maturity in that I'm not messing with you and your money. That's your thing. In a college locker room, you're right. I mean, that might be a little more difficult to deal with because of the immaturity.
And the contract bonds you to that team in the pros. You're not necessarily bonded to this team because it's a collective. That's not necessarily with the program.
So is this going to lead us, Shannon, like 5-10 years from now, to a different landscape of who's on top?
I tell you, it's really interesting to think through how it very well could bring more parity in college sports. And I don't know if it was the person I love reading all of their thoughts in general. And I think he's starting to nail it now. I wish he would even speak more on NIL as Jay Billis. I think he's doing a great job. Very sensible. He's incredibly intelligent, and I think he does a great job. At first, I did not think it would bring parity. I thought it would, be the same 2 or 3 schools. I'm seeing now, look at what Miami they're doing on the recruiting landscape. I don't think without NIL, I'm not sure Texas A&M, was ever going to win a title. So we're seeing a lot more parity and disbursement. It's going to be real interesting to see after this signing day what the recruiting totals look like versus years past. Where 2 or 3 teams dominated: Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing the amount of information you guys have on the site on NIL.
It's crazy. I'm looking at Will Levis right here. His new NIL deal that includes weekly golf outings with teammates.
That is outstanding. I saw that.
We are going all in at levels I cannot even begin to state as it relates to NIL.
I love it.
Yes,
love
all
it.
in.
Yeah,
and fans love it too, though, because it's even more, I think, of an inside look at what's going on, and I think kind of gives you more personality knowledge about your favorite players and your favorite team. Now that's from like probably a reporter separate side of me, but instead of the analytics and everything that goes into this entire NIL thing, but it's really interesting. The site is fabulous.
It's going to get better too. We have a few surprises this year, things that we've wanted
to do.
Dude,
you are smiling ear to ear talking about whatever this is.
I love it. We look at NIL basically from 4 buckets, and it's, we look at it from the value perspective, news perspective, resources, both for the athlete and the school, and community. And so we're going to attack all 4 of those lanes in this space with all we have.
It's almost like its own sport.
It is.
Seriously.
You know,
Crazy.
yeah, and these companies are so aggressive. Like I've got a kid that just graduated from CPA. He's a long snapper. He is a preferred walk-on at Middle Tennessee, so he's going to report August 4th. And he already has like his little NIL deal where he's got a band company that sent him bands and like he directs people to their link and all this stuff. I'm like, you're talking about a walk-on.
Yeah. Do you have a band on? Where's your band?
I don't. He just got them in the mail today.
Okay, I was going to say, come on.
So I want to say one thing about NIL that is phenomenal. Okay, I grew up in a town of 300 people. Woodville, Alabama is actually where I grew up.
Yes, that's right.
And I don't think I was in. I don't even know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And what I love about NIL now is that these kids are learning about economics and finance and life with their own money at a much earlier age. Now, you tell me if I'm the free safety at Alabama, maybe I don't pay attention or whatever. I got NIL. I may be paying attention in the tax class now.
Yeah.
And so the education, the unintended consequence of NIL is the education and the development of young people in real life situations is going to be off the charts. I don't care if every kid gives away parties, drinks, and loses every penny they get from these deals. That's an education process at a much earlier age with a lot less consequences than after they've pissed through all their NFL money or all the other things down the road.
It's a great point.
It's unbelievably good for the athlete.
10 months in with on3.com, are you where you wanted to be at this point?
We're so far ahead. And it's the challenge is just managing it. I mean, we have over 250 employees and, you know, we've got 6-7 different divisions and it's much larger than we thought, which makes it more of a risk. And so, you know, we're doing all we can to hold on. We're doing all we can to provide a great service, but we're only 10 months in. And so, you know, give us another year before you really judge what we're doing.
I love it. Shannon Terry at On3. It's phenomenal. On3.com is the website. So you followed one of your former employees, Alan Bell. I think you did okay.
You know, I love Alan. How do you love a guy that every time you see him, I've known Alan for 15 years, whatever, smiles.
Yeah.
Do you not like someone that doesn't smile? How do you not do it?
Also, if I wake up at 3 a.m. to take a leak and I look at Twitter, there's Alan Bell answering some tweet at 3 a.m.
The dude cares. He's passionate, and he buttons his top button, which I'm not sure about that one, but he smiles.